Hi everybody, welcome to week 3. Congratulations, you got your first full revised essay done. This week we're going to be focusing on multimodal communication, so you're starting and finishing work really on your next paper, which is called the Synthesis, Infographic, and Commentary, and that is due on Thursday. This is one that we're not taking through the drafting stage. So you read on Friday about the process of synthesizing, where you first summarize the main points, and your infographic is going to be where you do the summary for this paper. You don't need to summarize the sources outside of that document. And keep in mind, I'll say some more about this later in the week, but your infographic doesn't have to have every main point of each of the articles. You just want the general gist. You can assume me as your audience. I have read these articles, so you just want to make sure that you're showing the highlights of them. I linked some infographic tools on Canvas that you could potentially use. There are others. If you search for free infographic tools, you'll find a lot. If you're a person who doesn't like to use a template, I can recommend Canva, which is spelled like Canvas but without the S. That gives you a lot of freedom to move things around in ways that Venngage and Pictochart and the other ones I linked don't. But for a first infographic, if you haven't made one before, using a template can really be helpful. The first time I made one, it took me probably about 45 minutes. So it depends on your facility with technology and if you've done something like this before. If you're worried about it, I would just start working on it right away. Just start playing around with the tool, see what the different features are, and once you've made it, you have to save it or publish it as a PDF on most of the programs, so just keep that in mind. In terms of the commentary portion, this is where you're doing your synthesizing, so you're really inserting yourself into the situation that's being discussed in those 3 articles that you read, that academic conversation. And it's going to be challenging for you to make a connection among the 3 articles. I realize that. I did choose things that were about the same topics, but they're very different. So that's the interesting and the challenging thing about doing a synthesis. You'll notice this week that posting and tweeting and things like that are going to really slow down because you're going to be working intensely on this paper, and then next week you're going to start working on that researched paper. So if you can believe it, there's actually nothing to submit today, so you just want to be reading over your articles and practicing those reading and annotation strategies that you learned about or refreshed your memories about earlier in the course. The skills that you're learning this week for the synthesis paper are really also going to apply to the researched paper in the end. Just wanted to mention that the reason you're not doing peer review for this piece is number 1 because of time, but number 2 because your job is to really create this synthesis, this connection on your own. And so if you peer reviewed someone else's, you'd be influenced by the ways that they put the articles in conversation. So you'll see that this paper is worth less than the others as a result of that, and just a matter of time. So let's review the objectives for this week. By the end of the week, you're going to read, annotate, and synthesize 3 articles. Using an infographic, you'll represent a summary of those main points. Then you're going to synthesize the ideas from diverse critical sources about music or about sports. You're going to understand the rhetorical features of multimodal text, including images, sounds, layout, and words, and you're addressing that in a couple ways this week. Think about key ethical issues surrounding online communication, and finally you're going to show how images are used to misrepresent a group. So thank you for your continued work. Please reach out to me at any time if you have questions or concerns. Thanks.